I'm trying to remember. Council is now coming together for meeting. Let's have a pledge of allegiance, please. Everybody please stand. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Okay. So, let's have roll call now, please.
Ernest Franco. Here. Darlene Boyd. Here. Scott Frail.
Here.
David Medeiros is excused absence. Shirley Brewer is excused absence.
Excused absence, yes.
Okay. All right. It is time for public comment. Do we have any? No?
Excuse me.
At this time? Okay, so no public comment at this time. Informal project review. Does anybody have an informal project that they would like to discuss with us?
Madam Chair, if I could
Yes.
just introduce the applicant. I'd like to introduce Dylan. He is interested in opening up a business here in town and would like to come before Planning Commission just to receive any kind of feedback that you may have tonight, or HRB Planning Commission, just to sum it up. So, yeah,
Yes.
Dylan, come on up to the podium.
Please identify yourself for the record so that we can get this recorded.
My name is Dylan Sandstrom.
And you're from where?
I'm from Hollister.
Okay, thank you.
I'm currently a small business owner in the Midtown District of San Jose. I was born in Gilroy, raised in Hollister, graduated from San Benito High School, looking to do business in the lovely town of San Juan Bautista.
Okay. Do you have any particular questions that you want to tell us about your business?
I'm a tattoo artist.
Okay.
I have been for the past 12 years. I also work for my family's company, International Horticultural Technologies, during the week, so I'll be primarily there on the weekends. I've yet to secure a location. I'm just kind of looking for the blessing from the Planning Commission to move forward.
Okay. Any comments from the other commissioners here?
No, it's been a long, good week to go.
Yeah, we had one last year that left. I don't know what happened. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other informal project reviews? Okay, I see none. So let's go to the action items. 4A, approve affidavit of posting agenda. Anybody see anything they would like to pull from the agenda?
No, this is the affidavit, so it's just up for approval.
Okay, thank you.
I move that we approve 4A, approve the affidavit of posting agenda.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it, so let's move on. Okay, now we're going to consider a restaurant in the historic district at 404 3rd Street and expansion of an existing residential unit at 406 3rd Street. The applicant is Ann Nguyen, who I see in the audience, and may she come forward now, or did you want to give her?
If it's okay, I'd like to go and just give a quick staff report, if I may, then we should come forward. Okay, Madam Chair, members of the board, good evening. Todd Kennedy, city staff. This item is now before you tonight as an official action item. It was on the agenda last month on November 13th as a discussion item to introduce the project, introduce the scopes of work that are being proposed in this alteration. And the alteration includes 2 scopes of work in 2 separate buildings located on the same parcel, 404 3rd Street and 406 3rd Street. All of the same parcel, all of the same ownership. The applicant and her family, they wish to move to San Juan Bautista, become full-time residents, reside in the quarters, the residential quarters at 406 3rd Street, and open up a Vietnamese bistro located in 404 3rd Street. Both scopes of work will include tenant improvements, all interior work, nothing to do at the exterior at this time. The plans have been sent around for both building and fire comments and planning comments at this time. Those comments have been received and they have been sent over to the applicant to be incorporated in the plans before this thing gets issued from the city during the permitting review process. So anyway, that concludes my briefing for this item, and myself or the applicant can answer any questions you may have.
Okay.
Will this include the review of the building? It's a little building, we're going to intensify the use by having a restaurant, so it's going to bring in more people than whatever was there, and you're going to be adding additional living quarters. I'd hate to see if anybody be burned out or something.
Is that a question, Mr.
Yeah.
Franco? Okay. The living quarters is going to be in the separate building next to the one. That's all that's happening.
But we're going to intensify the use of that building
Next door to it.
next door.
Next door.
I mean, the other thing is, should this be two resolutions?
It's on the same parcel, and that's why I included it as one resolution.
Because if something happens and it's revoked on one side, it takes the whole thing out. This is something, it's a food for thought. Because we got two completely different uses. One's residential. Like I said, again, it intensifies the use of that building because you're going to add more living quarters to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, it was retail, now it's going to be restaurant. That's a whole different line of people. I just want to make sure that it's fire safe and whatever else goes with it.
The building and fire codes have been received already. It's really about sprinklering and details of the hood and the stove with the proper, fire suppression systems. Those have already been given to the applicant, and we're expecting those. Those will not be issued until that information is finalized.
Do we have the comments from the fire marshal and the code enforcement guys? Or
I did not include those in your packet, but I do have them here on file, though. Those were sent out, and those included fire sprinkler for the entire building and information about the hood and the
Just one
stove.
building?
For both buildings.
Both buildings?
Yeah, I sent out both building, both sets of plans for both buildings to those reviewers.
Ms. Nguyen, would you like to say anything? Go ahead and identify yourself for the record.
My name is Ann Lind, and I'm the owner of 404 and 406 3rd Street building. In addition to what Todd has already mentioned, basically, the living unit next door is to accommodate our family while we operate the bistro next door, which is at 404 3rd Street. And this is wide, and absolutely it's been quite some time that we're going through this process, and we don't know anything as far as requirement going into this, and it has been a while, and with Todd's help in the last couple of months, we hope to, finally get an answer, yay or nay, to move forward, because it has been quite a process for us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
One other question. On the picture of 404, you've got this poster holding up the awning, the poster in the public right-of-way. They look pretty much deteriorated. Was that picked up in your inspections?
So this is the earlier photo.
Commissioner Franco, if I may, those posts were actually improved since then.
Okay.
They've been improved since then. There's even been some comments reviewed. That's kind of part of this review tonight, is to accommodate that. Because part of Ann's improvements are to do some touch-up paint on the front of the building. Those posts, though, were improved, repainted, and there were some extra wooden platforms put on the bottoms right there, and even those were painted a bright blue color. So it's been improved pretty well since then.
Is that adequate for the safety of the public?
After doing an inspection out there with city staff, there's no issues. No issues have been identified.
Okay. You have anything to say, Mr. Friels?
well, I've got a few questions. Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
Mostly for Todd. I'm looking at floor plan number 3.
Let's see, let me pull up the plans here.
Okay.
Are you looking for the restaurant, 404?
It's it's what you call what's called floor plan 3, page 3, I guess.
Okay.
Got it. So the blacksmith shop.
Mhm.
Just real quick, blacksmith shop is not involved, is that correct?
The black shops, that's going to remain as is. It's going to be a boutique store being put in in the future.
At a later time.
Later time.
So is the sprinkling also going in that?
That is based on the comments that we received from Building and Fire.
Okay.
Well, that's something we're going to have to see. That's another thing we're going to have to see.
Is the forge still in that building? It was a blacksmith shop once upon a time.
Once upon a time,
Is
yes.
there still a working forge in there?
We haven't identified anything of that.
Because I think that's the question.
And we're not
No,
making any
it's-
changes to that building at all.
The
other than-
forge is where the blacksmith had the fires to do all that,
No, sir, that's all been removed.
Okay.
That's all been removed. It's all a vacant open floor area right now. And it's just like, open floor area from the edge of the living quarters out to the main entrance. And anyway, because we walked around inside, both buildings. And it's just really, you can see the ceiling, it has a ceiling that's shaped like this, as you can see here, down to the floor. And there's just some basic shelving that's been moved in there, like almost like a retail shop. Boutique is getting ready to be set up there. So,
Well, it was like a co-op antique type shop at one
Yes.
point. But what I'm looking at is on the plans. What I'm trying to figure out is what is where the blacksmith shop is. It's would be E commercial space. It looks like something is being. Is that just an overview of the work that's going to be done in the living quarters, or what is this? What am I looking at? It shows bat installations, 2x6 studs, types of sheetrock, fire-rated walls, all that kind of stuff. Is that just an example of, because it's hard, it's so small.
actually, Scott, if I could just point it out, it actually has a pointed over to living unit right in there, so it's kind of an example, it's kind of an exhibit that's been put out there in the middle of a commercial space.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I apologize, it's just, this is
The map is hard to read.
it's a super thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really small, okay.
Okay.
So that's something we'll see some other day?
Correct.
The boutique.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Okay, my last comment would be, since it is in the National Historic District, and this is an historic building, that since you're going to be retouching some painting on the front, that you put a 3-color or more scheme on there, approved by the HRB, so that it will blend in more with the historic ambiance that we want to create. And it's just a matter of putting a little trim, extra trim with another color, rather than
Is
the
this to
green.
the 404 or
Yeah.
to the 406?
The 404 is the one with the restaurant, right?
Correct.
Yes, the green and white building.
Madam Chair, if I may, if I just speak up, I think that might have already been done with the green color on the front and the white trim, and then the bright blue on the bottom.
Well, that
Yeah.
blue was never approved by the planning commission or the HRB. I would like it to come before us, okay?
Correct.
Because we had this issue with another building right next door, and it didn't end up with the 3 colors that we want, and it's in the historic district. So let's not go there again. We're going to have it come before the HRB, just so that we can get the colors correct and have the continuity that we wish to have in our downtown historic district. Thank you.
Let's see.
Basically, are you referring to the post, the blue? Wait,
Yeah.
that was there. That was
before you,
historic. That was not, and we didn't.
No, that was not historic. What is historic is the decimated post that Ernie was looking at in a former photo. That came when I think it was the Zen Gallery. And I don't believe she ever came before the planning commission to ask what to do to paint that building.
Why is the photo so outdated?
Yeah, that's a good question. We'll ask Mr. Keegan, because it does need to have that in the photo.
These pictures were taken like earlier on in the process. They were taken in like when Ann and I first met. We went out and took the pictures. I just held on to them ever since.
How long ago?
This is like probably maybe May, June, something like that.
Well, that blue has been there for a long time.
So the color's been added since then.
Yes, there's been little plinths at the bottom of each of these.
Which probably looks nice. But
The bottom, The post, the color of the post on the bottom, I put that on there.
You put that on there?
But other than that, I didn't touch anything because termite was eating all the wood, and so we did that and we put that on there. But we plan to paint it white, you know, when we go through with the project. And we like the color of the building right now, and we don't plan to make any changes to that color. So.
Well, I understand, but what I'm asking is because we are going to be solidifying our HRB standards, downtown historic standards, I would like to see a trim of 3 colors. One more color is not going to hurt. And you just put it around the windows or something, or even the, you know, the leaded part of the windows. And I think they're, you know, it doesn't take much just to put a little trim of different color.
Sure, and is that something that I have to go through and submit the color? And
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Madam Chair, let me just ask this, like, is there a way that, you know, we can condition this, you know, like we can have this condition and just be able to, you know, have that in, because that's, you know, that's kind of the purpose of, you know, tonight, to review the color scheme, what's currently there, what the proposal is, and what kind of color, you know, do we want to see.
Well, I'm just going to go on past experience since some of these things have been overlooked.
All of what you can do is you can issue a permit, the condition, the condition of the permit allows you to continue the work.
Okay.
Condition number X is submit a color panel to the commission, to the HRB, and that's before the final inspection.
Okay.
And that gives them a chance to look at this, look at the colors, well, they're problem nails over here, and then come back to the.
Okay. That I can remember. Thank you.
So just so it's a condition of approval.
Okay, so we have a condition of approval that she needs to come back with a color scheme, okay?
Okay, so she conditioned to, like, have a color scheme for improvement on 404.
Yes, and I think it's in the HRB guidelines that we're going to be adopting that. Kelly Moore is probably a good place to go to look at some of these color schemes.
I have a question. If we are going to look at the paint for 404, because it's a one parcel, might as well look at 406 as well so that we can accomplish both at the same time. Is that...
Well, if you would,
it's a 10 building, so
are you
it's...
talking about the living quarters behind, or?
No, we're talking about the front.
Yeah.
The front of the 406 building.
Talking about the front of the tin building next door.
What are you proposing?
Well, originally I do not plan to change anything outside other than submitting an application for, you know, making a sign of the name, etc. I didn't plan to change anything.
I don't
Because-
think there's an issue with the
I don't think
blacksmith shop.
Yeah.
There's not an issue with the blacksmith shop. It's just anytime colors are changed in downtown, they're supposed to come before us so we can make sure that the colors fit the period of downtown and the historic ambiance of the town. And not that we're saying that you're going to paint it some crazy bright green or something like that. It's just that you just have to make sure that every time an applicant comes to us to do work in downtown, they have to come through the Historic Resource Board to make sure that the paint is correct. Does that make sense?
Yes,
One of these is called the City of History, because we have a lot of older buildings that people like to have that feeling of the Old West. But to maintain that feeling that brings people here to eat, just to tour, just to be here, we have these guidelines for the historical district. And that includes the color, the streetscapes, design of buildings. If you wanted to do some work on it, it would have to be approved because you're in a designated historical district.
I understand, sure. I think it would, is it possible if you wanted 3 scheme color, if you can just tell me what it is and I'll go make it happen instead, because I'm not expert at this at all, and choosing the scheme I have to, you know, bring in a professional. I mean, it is an additional cost to me, so I would prefer if, you know, if the team would just tell me most preferred color, and then I can just pick from the list.
I don't know if we do that. but
That's not our job.
If you went down, like say,
Kelly Moore.
for instance, the Hollister paint in Hollister, those people carry all this kind of stuff, and they carry even brochures of historical buildings. They would advise you, you wouldn't have to be getting a consultant or an architect. These people would say, hey, these three colors, take them back to your commission.
Okay, so my question is, I like to keep we like the color of the building right now.
Yes.
So can we just keep it the same and add
Yes.
maybe the ream of the window or whatever, another
Yes.
color?
Yes,
Is that
right.
simple?
Absolutely.
What other two colors look good on this building, starting with what's colors there? They could help you with that.
Well, it has green and white already, and all she needs to add is a third color for a little trim.
And I said, they can do it, they say, hey,
Yeah.
here's some choices.
And I would suggest that maybe staff get one of the Kelly Moore things to have in the office so that when clients come like this and are confused and need to understand that, you have it through historic resources.
So,
Jenny, okay?
First build, we had a gal come in there a couple years ago, and we had this issue with the colors.
That's right.
And she came in and was going to work out some palettes, this
Right.
little palettes that could have been, taken to see which one we want to use.
Mm-hmm.
But there was never a follow-up on that.
Well, I think that's a
That's something the committee board should think about. When he's pulling the pros and said, look, help us with this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't hurt them because they sell paint.
That's right.
We need advice that they sell paint.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or concerns?
Well, let's see, let's go ahead and, go ahead. Do you have anything else, Ann, or?
Okay. Thank you very much. We're looking forward to your response.
Thank you.
So this is a recommendation to the planning commission. There's no action to be
Right.
other than recommended.
Okay, so the board members, just to make the recommendation onto the next segment of our hearing tonight, the planning commission, just to kind of fine tune the condition, what to put on this. What would be agreed upon language? Like what would be good?
Well, I think Ernie said it best with the condition.
The prior to final inspection, the applicants submit a color palette for approval by the HRB.
Okay.
And that way it doesn't have to go to the planning commission, it stays in the HRB.
Yes, that sounds good. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. All right.
Sounds nice, but it really isn't.
Yeah. Okay. Now, are we supposed to make a motion?
Not just, by consensus, we should just route this to the planning commission. This is action items.
It's an action item in the planning commission? That says action item here, yeah.
Oh, it's action item. Okay, I'm moving to forward this to the planning commission.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Move this forward to the planning commission.
With all our changes.
With all our changes, yes, with our condition. Okay, discussion items. Fire station sign package to be located at 24 Polk Street. All right.
Okay. Members of the board, let me go ahead and explain why this is on the agenda for something we can clear my station a little bit. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen of the commission, or the board, excuse me, I wanted to bring this item back to you tonight. Back on October 2nd, a motion was made to approve Resolution 2018-11 for a sign package for the San Juan Bautista Fire Department located here at 24 Polk and 311 2nd Street. Part of the resolution, and I included in your packet, included the approval of a fire station sign located at 311 2nd Street and 24 Polk Street engine bays. Part of that included the reinstallation of the volunteer fire station sign located on the wall. However, after further brainstorming and discussion, we wanted to get creative. We wanted to get creative on this. And that is
We meaning the who?
myself, city staff.
Okay.
Myself, fire department, and our city manager.
Okay.
We wanted to get creative and we wanted to reintroduce this. The idea is to elaborate and to complement the history of the volunteer fire department by putting it in an encasement type device, something along those lines, and put it out where the flag is out there and having light shine on it, having some historical, material put on there as well, and on the wall to put, current fire department sign. We want to go ahead and do that because that way it accomplishes two things. Number one, it complements the history of the volunteer fire department, and number two, it puts signage that's current, accurate, depicting the current fire department that's currently using the bays. So that's what we want to bring before you tonight with ideas, suggestions. The point about this is to collaborate, and to see what you think, basically. I mean, we can come up with options. We are open to options like that. The idea is, and this was a concern that was, been discussed, is the mixed message factor. Putting a volunteer sign on there, pointing it out to public right away, that's what we just don't want to have, inquiries coming in about volunteer fire department, and then we have to explain the whole thing and so forth. We're trying to kind of stop that kind of stuff at the beginning.
And how many of the inquiries have you had?
Have we had so far with the volunteer? Are you current right now, the current as is right now?
Yeah. How many inquiries have you had?
0.
Okay. I don't see why this is an issue.
If we were to put it up, though, I mean, isn't that something?
No, that's not necessarily an invitation. I remember on November 9th, after our meeting, Planning Commission was asked to have the volunteer fire department sign reinstalled as soon as possible within 2 weeks. Please make sure that the work order is generated for this soon. We can discuss the placement of a possible plaque designating the years this sign refers to on the next month's agenda. We did not put that sign up. Then on November 14th, we are launching, it says, good afternoon, we are launching a work order for the volunteer fire department sign, as was heard at the October 2nd hearing. As this is being processed, I am thinking the following would be more tasteful and pay warranted tribute to the volunteer fire department. Mount the sign on finished stained sealed 4x4 posts, protect it with plexiglass in front of the flagpole, put architectural lighting on the sign, and repurpose an old nozzle welded to the pole, and attach an etched brass plate describing the thanking and the volunteer fire department for service to San Juan Bautista. The strip of land that the flagpole is on would be turfed as well. Please let me know your thoughts. I will discuss this with the city manager and see if we have budget to do something like this. My reply to this was the directive is to place the sign directly on the building where it was originally. Any other deviation from this assignment is considered insubordinate. We're not happy about the way this has been handled. It makes us feel as commissioners like, well, we can do what we want. It doesn't really matter. And you have had 0 people ask about being a volunteer fire person. And I don't think you're going to get a whole lot anyway, because all they have to do is go around the front and see that it's an actual fire station. And we discussed that we would be happy to discuss putting another plaque on there with this sign after this sign is installed. I'm having a very difficult time understanding why our directives cannot be followed.
Madam Chair, is or if I respond to that?
Yes?
We're just trying to get creative. We're just trying to get creative by putting current signage and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's the intention. That's all the intention is, really. And, I understand, I read over your responses and so forth. What we would like to have considered, with a volunteer sign and all that, can we do that in one big package with a placard, to include that? That's the idea. Can we do that together? That's what we'd like to do.
Well, I stated that we would discuss that farther down the line. Right now, we're just having problems getting you to understand that when we give a directive, it needs to be followed. And this is where I'm having the issue. The staff hasn't been real good about following directives. Same thing happened with Harvey's lockup. I know that 2 city council people and a whole Planning Commission told them to first check the sprinkling system and the fire suppression system before putting in a sidewalk. No matter what kind of stuff you looked up and found in the records. That was given to your city manager. 2 council people and this whole commission told you, address the sprinkling system first. And it doesn't seem like somebody's listening to directives here. We're the government, we're the appointed advisors of the people as appointed by the council. You guys work for the government.
We understand that, Madam Chair, and I'm just, let me just say this, and I don't want this to, get out of hand or anything. I'm just trying to keep it, keep it under control. Right now, for tonight, I just want to keep this, keep this on the topic at hand here. Is that we look this over, we're discussing this, and we're thinking we probably should just revisit this with Planning Commission, or Planning Commission HRB, I should say, and say, I think we have something here that's probably going to create, more of a hassle, for lack of a better term, or something that might create confusion. And we just want to avoid that, I mean, the bottom line is, that's a good old sign over there that's just sitting there,
Yeah.
And we want it reinstalled too. But can we do it in a creative way? Can we get creative? Because honestly, when we were looking this over, I did get pretty excited about this idea. I did get pretty excited. And I think it's kind of a good way to kind of showcase our history and our heritage.
Okay. Any comments from the rest of the commission here?
First time in my life in a long time, I'm speechless. This is amazing. This is wasting our time. I'm here for free. I burned a holiday at work to be here. We've already discussed this. We asked that the sign go back up on the building. Trust me, Todd, nobody in this building is going to get any more creative than Alex Zeller ever was, even this much of this thing. That's his sign. He put it on that building. He was one of our guys. He was one of our volunteers. It's a historic resource. There's a whole bunch of things I'm worried about. You put it in some case, it's going to be, that thing has withstood the elements. It's only been restored once. It's a good old redwood sign. I'm afraid you put it in some type of case where you don't have any type of climate control in it. It's going to get hot. It's going to get cold. It's going to hold moisture. There's a whole bunch of things you can just go down the route. But the bottom line, I understand that there are certain people that are. I'm trying to be PC. A little bit upset at the fact there's a volunteer sign on the door on the front, but I don't care. That's the city of San Juan Batista's building. That's their sign, and it was done by a historic artist. It's not supposed to be put in some.
And we are the representatives of the city.
And we aren't having.
And we've already decided.
2 months ago. It's like, why am I even here? Seriously, I thought today I was going to hand her my resignation because there's no reason for me to be here if what I'm doing up here is just going to be laughed at. So you know what, I'm too Irish right now, so let me just take it. I'm done.
Mr. Franco, do you have any comments?
We did have this resolution, but I think we're saying there's another acceptable way. And I think that's all staff's looking for. A feeling from the board. Mm-hmm. Is this creative deviation acceptable? Which allows us to develop a better mousetrap out there.
I think it's all on, but
It's on, it's just not close enough probably.
Sorry about my voice going down. I saw this as we did take an action. We're very concerned about the preservation of that sign for its historical nature. I can see where having a volunteer sign and a professional sign could cause some issues, but I still feel that if staff wants to say, hey, would you consider this, that's all we're asking. And if the board doesn't want to do that, and obviously doesn't need to be going in that direction, but would the sign be better protected? And would the volunteers of the past be better honored, memorialized, and having a display lighted on a green belt area? I mean, I think this is the question. I didn't see staff coming by as saying, hey, you're doing it wrong. I saw them as saying, would you consider it alternative?
Thank you.
Who's going to maintain it? I mean, our library looks, I mean, it's a weed patch, you know, that's my concern. It's sat up there for 50 some odd years, you know, as solid as the redwood it's made out of.
With one ordinance, right?
Yeah, it's been restored one time by Tim Foley back in the 90s. And I mean, I ran 2,500, maybe 3,000 calls out of that building in my 25 years. And I get the whole thing, but I'm just worried that it's not going to be maintained. It's going to be put in some case. It's going to get forgotten about. Next thing you know, there's going to be graffiti on it, or somebody's going to scratch up the plexiglass, and then that's never going to get replaced. And it's going to look like the light bulbs at the library, and you know, and we're fortunate now finding City Hall's got a roof on it, but I mean, just to me, I don't know. I don't have any more to say. I'm not happy with it. I'm not in favor of it. Thank you.
If I could just speak up one more time,
Okay.
commissioners or board members, you know, like what was just stated, you know, we're just asking, will this be considered? And, you know, we're more than willing, to move forward, accordingly. We just want to veer off like any kind of possibility of any kind of confusion, because the fact of the matter is, the way it's all shaping up is that those are two active bays. And one of them has a sign that has that, surrender and, that surrender and, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I forgot the words right there. And, to have that next to a volunteer sign, the way I've been told, the way my research is showing.
Bull. That sign was up there for years, that surrender sign. Don't ever say that because it's a volunteer station or because there's a volunteer fire department that they're not going to do their job. That sign had been up there prior. We never faltered out of that house. So please don't. And the difference between a professional and a volunteer firefighter is one is paid. And that's the only difference. We were all professionals. And I know that they're having a hard time with this. I know the union guys are having a hard time with this, and I get it. But could we put it up and then maybe discuss this later?
Isn't that what we asked for?
But
put it up and we'll discuss it?
I keep getting told there's a work order, there's a work order, there's a work order. And that's why I'm saying, done.
Okay.
Done.
We have another option here. There's 3 out of 5 board members. You may want to continue this to the next meeting, so you have all 5 members, and maybe you get additional input from, again, 2 more people who have been designated to serve. That's another option.
But we did vote unanimously.
No,
we already
the
voted.
resolution's clear.
Yeah.
The issue is...
So what good is the resolution then?
Yes.
I mean, you're the one that's always pushing, black and white. And I respect that the most out of you sitting here, and I've learned that from you. I mean,
the resolution is clear, and I would feel that we need to follow it. Are there any comments from the...
Yes, Rachel Fonske.
Please identify yourself for the access for you. Hello.
We need to respect our history and the volunteer fire department. That's one of the great big things about the community. I mean, we have generations of people that have family members and all that have volunteered, and they were well trained and they were committed. and for the Hollister Fire Department to demand or to restrict our history is uncalled for. I mean, all you have to do is put under that sign, and I'm sure Valerie Eglin would be willing to make a sign with the dates of the volunteer ring. And that would take care of offending the Hollister Fire Department that that building is not only a volunteer fire department. You guys are making a big deal out of this, and you know what's bothering me the most? In spite of you guys willing to do your work and all, you're not respecting the history of this town. This is what makes San Juan. This is what makes the community. We're a historical community, and we're very proud of it, and we want to preserve it as best we can. And to be just the volunteer fire department. I mean, I wish you would have seen and been around when the volunteers were volunteering, and that's what they did. Volunteer their time to protect us and their families and our families, and that needs to be respected. This is very, very disrespectful of what happened here, and it was a big mistake for the city to do away with the volunteers. Volunteer fire department. I don't see a big deal about putting up that sign, that beautiful sign, not only respecting the volunteers, but Zeller, for goodness sake. Have you ever been to Mount Madonna? At the restaurant? I mean, the work is there. It's just, don't do anything but put it up there. It needs to be put up there. And it can easily be rectified with putting a date of the volunteer rate. And that will take care of everything.
Thank you, Ms. Ponte. Amen. Okay. Any more discussion? Oh, we have somebody from that.
Georgiana Velarde. I can't believe that it was ever taken down, except to be fixed and get back up there. I just can't believe it. I can't believe any of the why Hollister Fire Department came over and disrespected us, disrespected all the years of the volunteers. The volunteers fire department started before this city. They were organized before this. They were the center of all kinds of activities, and from that group, other service club, other organizations have come. And they've gone on to service all over the state of California and the nation, right here from our volunteer fire department, learning on this spot to do the jobs they do. We have to have that sign back without any further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Todd, I apologize. I know you're cannon fodder on this one. I wish our city manager would have been here. It would have been nice to talk to her.
You know, keep in mind, members of the board, let me just say this. This was my item, that I put on here, my staff report that I wrote. And, let me just take the responsibility for what I put in here. And but it is true, it was collaborated, between the fire department, my city manager, and myself. And we wanted to introduce the idea. We wanted to respect the HRB Planning Commission, start here before we go anywhere else. Because we just wanted to foresee things. And that's kind of my role as a planner, basically. Because I want to really hear these different sides. Now, let me get back to your point, though, Scott, about the point about the sign I was starting to talk about up there. I'm not saying the volunteers would ever not do their job or do their job. It's just that one of those things that if we have something out there and then we have another type of signage, you know, which message it's going to create. But that's where a current placard, like Rachel Ponce was just talking about, and what's been talked about before. And we like to, see if we can get that going as part of a signed package. That way they both go on together, to avoid those kind of mixed message, issues perhaps. We like to. Would that be okay?
Well, since you've gotten zero response on anybody wanting to volunteer, I don't know where the mixed message is. There's no mixed message. What we would like to see, as I stated in my first email here, is put the sign back and we'll talk about placards. We have no issue with that. What we have an issue right now with is not following our directives. We have a resolution here. Let's get it up there. I would like it done by the end of this week.
We can put up signs, administrative office, fire department administrative office, down here type of stuff. I mean, it's not a big deal. But can we please move on from this?
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Thank you.
Let me ask you this, just before we close this. So basically, it sounds like the response I'm getting from the board is that...
And the citizens.
And the citizens is the board, is to put the sign back up in its place.
Right.
But any future, placard,
Yes.
I keep on saying, would that need to come back before the board?
Yes,
Yeah,
of
because
course.
it's in the historic district.
It's in the historic district.
All right.
Thank you. Part of the issues that we had with our former city government was the lack of communication, and in his case, it was basically he was withholding information, so he was basically lying by omission. And now we're having to face, we make a directive, we say, here, this is what we want. I even state we can come back and talk about it later. Why isn't the directive followed? I mean, this is what I'm trying to understand. There's no reason for any of us to be here if there's no directives that are followed. Thank you.
Before it falls up to staff members to get direction, and they're not always responsible. Staff members are not always responsible for the actual work being done. But I'm very down on beating on the staff members coming in on myself. So with all due respect, I think, the resolution stands. But I don't hold the person responsible.
No, I'm not holding him responsible.
That's what I told him. I wasn't
Yeah.
either.
And I've told him this personally, that I'm not holding him personally responsible. There are other people that we are. Okay? All right. Let's move on to board policies for the Historic Resources Board.
Okay, per the notes that I have here from last Planning Commission back in November, let me make sure I grab the right one here. Here I am. Okay, this was directed by the board back in November to include this list of board policies to discuss it. So I just wanted to respond to that, put this on the agenda with a quick staff report, and then maybe just discuss accordingly. That was based on my notes, based on the information I was able to see, and I'm just responding to that. And that's what we have before you tonight.
Okay. Anybody have any remarks about this?
Well, this policy came about as a result of former administration providing us with little or no information with which to make an informed decision. When you get a project and you don't know what part of the city it's in, you're not sure what they're really asking. You don't know whether the property owner is involved because the renter cannot do an application without the owner's approval. So all these things, we felt if we put this down, then that way staff would know. And I'm not talking about this staff, this is previous administrations. So that bottom one, city staff and planning staff may not make or allow any changes to the board approved plans. I mean, it's a terrible thing to have to say and write this.
Yes.
But at that time, it was a valid concern. Because by putting everything in writing, you say, hey, this is our basic standards. And then My thought is if somebody comes in with an incomplete application, I want to show them due respect. Come back next month, and do it right the second time. I don't get mad, this is fine, come back next month. I will hear it then.
Okay.
But there's no way we're going to hear an incomplete application because we don't really know what they want, where they are, how the project's going to be conducted.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for that.
And this was
Last November.
okay, but
We did this back in 2015.
2015. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So all I'm saying now is that,
it's in our code and everything now.
no, it's not code, it's just policy.
Just policy.
Yeah, this is not an ordinance, this is
A
like
policy.
bylaws,
Yeah,
working
like
standards.
bylaws. Okay.
But at least you can say, hey, you were given this copy, and you didn't give us the property lines on your drawing, so we don't know what your setbacks are. And if we approve this, they'll put the building in any place they want to because the site plan is a part of the document.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So if you think of other things, I'm glad you put this on. They should be included. Think of the applications that come through. And if you think there's something missing, add to it, adjust it, moderate it, whatever it is, but make it so that it's like bylaws, you can always refer to it. Say, hey, we wrote it down for your convenience so you could do it right the first time. Well, let's face it, every time they go back, they got architects or paid to have work done, every time they go back it's going to cost them more.
Right.
So my thought is, tell them what's needed up front.
Oh.
Very, very
I
open.
agree with that.
And then if they don't, I'll show you respect. Come back next month with a complete application,
Okay.
rather than deny it on the spot.
Okay.
Your thoughts?
The only thing I might want to add, you might want to think about is since we have new National Historic guidelines coming up, that something be mentioned about if they are in a historic district or that it is a historic building, that they look at those guidelines too.
Well, look at number 1,
Okay?
or line 3 rather. All construction in the Historic Resources District must be reviewed by the Historic Resources Board. You can change that to what do you call it, major and minor alterations, new construction, alterations, etc. And like I said, it's a lot of the stuff is in an ordinance someplace else. But by having this here, people don't go to the meeting code to look at that sheet that you give them.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Do you have anything you would like to add to that?
No, I'd just like to see that. I wish we had that with the trucking company. It would make things a little easier. But that's doing it historically.
Yes,
But see, this doesn't have to be just historic. This is meant to be policies for the board to work with on any project. But to me, the historic resources is one aspect of our job, but everything else, anything that comes up, can be used. The planning commission could adopt this for their use.
Okay. Anybody have a suggestion that happen then? Okay. The next consideration is rescheduling the next regular meeting to January 8th, because I believe the next one is too near the beginning of the year.
First.
It's the first. Oh, it is the first. No, we can only come home.
You're right.
So, everybody in favor of that?
That's 1 week out on Tuesday as well.
The week after the event.
Okay, you should be up.
We have a health issue we have to deal with.
Okay. No,
Now,
we can't.
we need,
We'll need 3 people.
but after the first of the year, we have a new board.
Notoriously, we have not had meetings in January because, well, at least during election year,
Okay.
because there is a switchover, and a lot of times we won't have a full quorum. This time we put on 3 council members, so there's 3 seats up, and they're getting that information Now, I mean, it's being advertised for applications for the planning commission and HRB. We've received a couple applications, so,
And they need to do but then
We-
the policy is they need to actually interview each of those applicants, correct?
correct.
And then,
And that'll be in January or February when
yeah.
we get to it.
so let's,
We may not even have, there may be just two of us.
so I think we need to,
But if something different happens, it'd just be nice to peg a different day. I mean, if everybody do it, so everybody doesn't just say, well, it's on the 1st, and that can't happen anyway, so.
okay. So we will do January 8th then?
Yeah.
Okay,
I guess it can always, I mean, if we don't have,
yes.
if we don't have a planning commission, it can always be moved.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
But if you don't have anything pressing, you can, you can float it.
Yeah, if we don't have anything pressing, but we'll see, okay?
So let's accept that date, okay, at this point.
Yeah, at this point, we're accepting the date of January 8th for our next HRB meeting,
Thank you.
okay? Comments, Historic Resources Board members, you have any more comments?
Have we got any applicants?
Yes,
Oh, how many?
Two.
Two? Great.
Okay. City planner, do you have any more comments?
I think, if I could just jump right back to the previous item 5A. First off, apologies accepted. So if I can just say that. I just want to kind of just say something genuine.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And the city
That's
manager?
how you take, you get a big set of shoulders, partner. Thank you.
Goes to the judge.
Yeah.
City manager leave you with any comments?
No, ma'am, no report from the city manager.
Okay. Well, the HRB meeting is over, and we'll take, 5 minutes break?
Time all break, sure.
Yes. Since we've already done the flag salute, let's go ahead and do roll call.
Sure. Ernest Franco? Here. Darlene Boyd? Here. Scott Friels?
Here.
Dave Medeiros and Shirley Brewer are absent.
Yes, thank you. Okay, it's time for public comment. Are there any public comments?
No.
Okay. Informal project review. Does anybody want to bring an informal project review up here? No. We already did it, huh? Okay, action items. We need to approve the affidavit of posting agenda.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those who oppose, say nay. The ayes have it. Okay. Now we're going to consider a recommendation from the Historic Resources Board for a restaurant on 404 3rd Street and expansion of an existing residential unit located at 406 3rd Street with a condition for 3 colors. The applicant is Ann Nguyen. We need to approve a resolution in 2018-XX approving a minor alteration for new living space within an existing residential unit and a tenant improvement for a new restaurant located at 404 and 406 3rd Street.
Okay. All right. Madam Chair, members of the Commission and staff, good evening. Todd Kennedy, city staff here. This item was just discussed in the HRB. HRB made a recommendation to the Planning Commission that this be approved, and this be approved with conditions. Anyway, so that's what's before you tonight. It's for a new Vietnamese bistro in 404 and for an expansion of an existing living space in 406. That's all the scope of work is happening. Everything's inside, interior for these improvements. So we ask you for, staff recommends approval on this proposal with any conditions that you deem necessary. The applicant is here to speak tonight, and then also myself and the applicant can answer any questions you may have.
Okay. So do you have anything else that you'd like to add to your, Ms. Nguyen? Come and identify yourself for the record, please.
My name is Ann Lind, and I'm the owner of 404 406 3rd Street building. I'm here to request for your approval. I hope that the painting of the 3 colors of the outside can be, I would say, postponed for the kind of like the future and maybe not interfere with the approval.
It's not going to interfere with any construction that you need to do. It's just before we finalize the whole thing, then we need to go over that at the very end. This is something that's going to be happening near the end. Okay? The approval of the painting, that is.
Okay. So does that mean that it's going to be tabled to next year's?
No.
No, it means that you won't be able to open a restaurant until your painting is all done, but you would be doing that anyway as you're doing the construction, putting it together.
Okay.
It's not going to hold you up. What you have to do is talk with the paint company, get that 3rd color that matches, that fits with those 2 that are there now, and get that to Todd.
Okay.
And he'll tell us, but the thing
So
is,
this is not going to hold up the approval?
No, it's not.
not at all.
Not at all. We want to make sure that you get in there soon. I'm getting hungry first.
When you open the restaurant, everything that has to be done will be done. That's all this says.
Yes.
This is part of your final approval, that's all.
Okay.
I mean, the final, your inspections and all that stuff. So,
All right.
yeah, it shouldn't be able to.
Okay. Does that, you understand all that?
Yes. I would just wanted to clarify that because I was under the assumption that it's a condition, so it's not approved. And right now we're trying to get the approval so that we can get started
Well, you get the approval to get started. What this is a condition for final approval just before you open the restaurant.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Also, if I could just add this comment into the commission as this is being considered, please be advised that it's anticipated, and I don't want to jump ahead or anything, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but signage we're anticipating of what this new restaurant is, that would definitely become before the board and commission as well,
Right.
being the historic nature of these buildings.
That's right.
So maybe it's possible that maybe we just leave whatever paint or anything like that is for a later time, that she's not allowed to do any painting or anything like that, everything interior. So when everything exterior for the signage comes before you, which is anticipated, because remember, this is kind of a
Yes, it's a multi-step thing.
Yeah. So this is not the last time that the HRB Planning Commission is going to be seeing this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll be seeing Ann probably a couple more times, you know, and all that. So, you know, I think it's one of those things to probably consider. So that way we just, you know, get the tenant improvements going, get that all underway, and then when signage is determined of the design, that's when it's reviewed administratively, and then item schedule for HRB Planning Commission to consider.
Well,
Yeah, he's got a good point, because your sign is going to be related to the colors of the building.
mhm.
So if we do it all at one time,
Then you
if
could,
she comes up with a color palette and say that here's the colors that they gave me, and the
yes, you
colors of
could
the
use,
sign.
yeah, you could use an accent color from your sign. Okay?
So maybe we don't need that extra condition now then, because she has to come back for the sign package. Oh, wait a second.
Yeah, but that's not,
Okay.
but that's not
Color palette and sign we considered,
as a conjoined item.
yeah,
Yeah,
prior to,
prior to opening.
because she's made a sign, she doesn't want a sign,
Yes.
but she won't get it until everything is, all the color matching.
Okay. Does that sound good?
I think it sounds good. We just, you know, it's kind of like a step-by-step process. And we can, you know, word it like a condition, you know, is that any future signage or any future painting or exterior alterations to the building shall be reviewed by the HRB and Planning Commission.
Okay. Thank you. I like that.
From what I saw on the social media pages, people are pretty excited, so good, welcome. Are you moving to San? Do you live here now?
Hoping, no, right now, we can't. We have a big family.
Mhm.
And, yeah, sometimes we go down here and we would have airbed.
Oh, that's a really good, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, good
Well,
luck.
we welcome you to the community and we look forward to this restaurant.
Thank you.
Okay. So the condition is going to be along with the sign review.
Yes, I have a public comment.
Okay, we have a public comment? Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Dan Dickey there, 5 Donner Street. I'm not sure I understand exactly what's happening, but regarding the 3-color palette, I've always been a big proponent of that. And I think, though, unless she's planning to repaint the whole building, we can't ask her to add the 3rd color now. I think that should be a condition of painting.
Well, thank you.
Okay. And the guidelines are guidelines. They are, the color palette should be consistent, preferably in at least a 3-tone palette. There's a guideline to recommendations.
With the 3-tone, could she start with the color of the building?
I think she wants to keep the color. I don't know which is going to be
Keep the
painted.
color of the building.
Yeah. Then she
She doesn't
just,
like posts.
yeah.
So you have no
Right,
color that
right.
kind of fits, but also has, and the sign will have to have colors that
Right.
don't.
But I just didn't understand that she was going to repaint because,
She's not.
okay,
She's going to do little touch-ups, she said.
then I don't think we need, I don't think it'd be appropriate to require her to add a 3rd color if she's not painting the whole building. I think that should be
We're not
applied.
asking her to paint a whole building, we're asking her to put
No,
accents.
since she's not painting, I don't
But she's
think,
doing touch-up painting.
I don't know.
Okay.
She's right there, just ask her. So.
Well, did you plan to repaint the whole building?
No.
Okay, so then
I
I
did
don't.
not plan to repaint the building. When the post was damaged by termites, we fixed that, and obviously it was white, so we painted white, and down the bottom, we thought we'd put some other color, just, afraid that, people walk by, may not see, so we put a different color, but that was the only thing, and Todd brought that to our attention. But other than that, for this restaurant project, we plan to keep the color of the outside the same way, and if there's anything that we need to do from the outside, Todd informed us that we would need to submit a request for review, so that's all I know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any other comments? No. Okay. So do we need to move on this? Make a motion?
Okay. I move that the Commission adopt Resolution 2018-12, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista approving a minor alteration for new living space within an existing residential unit and a tenant improvement for a new restaurant located at 404 and 406 3rd Street, APN 002-140-005.
And this is with our condition.
They should be, they should be there. Yeah, there's
Okay.
5 conditions on the resolution.
Okay. You have any? Anybody second this?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 2018-12 is approved. Okay, thank you.
Thank
You
you.
may move on. And if you can, work something about the 150th anniversary into it too for your big opening. Yeah, because next year is our 150th anniversary for the city of San Juan Bautista. Okay, we'll be 150 years old next year, so we're going to we'll celebrate all year. So just if you have a special dish that you want to just offer as a special for the 150th anniversary, so be it.
All right, let's go.
Never hungry, huh?
The plug there, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to consider now an amendment to the city design guidelines by adding in a new chapter that covers streetscape design guidelines for the National Historic Downtown District. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Let me go ahead and I'll give you a quick staff report. Okay, Madam Chair, members of the Commission and staff, Todd Kennedy, City Planning. Okay, to discuss this item. This is being brought before you with a correction that was made. This was heard and made a recommended of approval by the HRB back on November 13th, and it's back before you tonight for adoption by the Planning Commission with that correction. That correction included on the roof lines and the roofscape to any kind of roof equipment to be painted accordingly to match the building. That correction has been placed in the draft and has been incorporated in the final draft. So staff has no other recommended changes on this, and staff recommends that commission make a motion to recommend approval.
If somebody adds a satellite dish, or I know if they did some type of major HVAC repair, they'd have to probably get a permit. If somebody adds a satellite dish, do they come?
We can.
You see it?
The painting does not affect it. Does not affect the work of it. I have that dealt with. I dealt with a lot of these things. And I talked to the guy in Jamaica, and he says it was not an issue about painting.
No, okay, but I guess what I'm getting at is, if it's not a permitted process, how are we going to know if there's a satellite dish going in to tell the folks, hey, you got to match the color of your satellite dish with your building?
Or somehow disguise it.
That's a good question. Let me take a shot at that, Scott. There's several things, as we all know, that don't require permits on this. I mean, we talked about repainting earlier. Repainting doesn't even require permits, but it does have to go before, as we're talking about, through review, depending on the color scheme and the state of the building. But anyway, in this particular instance, especially for the downtown historic district, we can always have it, as part of it, as a policy, I should probably say, for lack of a better term, and correct me if I'm wrong, that any kind of roof equipment air conditioning, satellite dishes, any kind of roof equipment of so forth shall be, reviewed by planning staff. And schematics, building elevation showing how these things will look from the street and all that, like a line of sight type thing, and, type image, and that can be presented before the HRB and Planning Commission.
Okay.
It just seemed like, and of course the applicant has to justify why this stuff needs to go in, and all that. And we can definitely listen to them, give them the proper testimony and so forth, and make a decision accordingly. But Scott, does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking about that there. Yes, how are we gonna know?
If that's going to even happen.
Every other time that you go by and see one, it's out, that's a song.
Roundabout. No, is this the newest?
Yeah, that's the National Historic
This is a new and improved map, huh?
Yeah, National Historic. This part of the town.
Just 3rd Street. Yeah.
Basically 3rd Street out 22 a little bit. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I see non-conforming. Yeah. Remember this is that.
Okay. So we have considered an amendment to the city design guidelines. Is there any more discussion about
Public
this?
comment.
Or comment?
Public comment.
Public comment. Are there any public comment?
And they give there.
Dan Vicky Bear, 5 Donner Street. In addition to having the map of the 3rd Street Historic District, we've also got the exact area on the front, 3rd Street between 406 3rd and Franklin Street, and then it directs you to the map in the back. And the other change that we discussed at the last meeting was to include some language about traffic calming measures. So on the last paragraph, I think it is the last sentence, I added, in addition, the board must approve traffic calming measures such as speed bumps and changes to directional traffic and parking standards within the 3rd Street Historic District. And the reason this whole document came about was when I was on the Historic Resources Board and decisions were being made about the downtown district without our approval. And
Yes, we
we
understand.
feel very protective of that and think that decisions such as this should come before the HRB.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? No. From the public? Okay. Any other discussion up here?
Well, if there's no discussion. Okay, if there's no other discussion, I move that the commission adopt resolution number 2018-13.
Correct.
13. A resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista recommending approval to the City Council, a text amendment to the city design guidelines for the City of San Juan Bautista.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, the ayes have it. It's through. Go celebrate now. Maybe soon at the Vietnamese week.
And by the way, just a quick question. I mean, the motion's already been taken, but this is a recommendation to City Council because this is amending a council resolution. So we have to take us for one more block.
At least they know we started.
Yeah.
Okay.
I probably should have said that earlier. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Thank you. All right, discussion items. So we have a proposed ABC license for Hacienda de Leal located at 410 the Alameda.
Yes. Madam Chair, this is a discussion item, and it's basically for informational purposes. Let me dig out my case file. Yes, I have it right here. Thank you. Kind of thinking out loud. I'm sorry. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Commission, I put this on the agenda for a reason. It actually was a good due diligence exercise for me. And what it was, it's in your packet. There is a proposed ABC license, and it just showed up, addressed the city planner of this application. Now, I've dealt with these before in my previous experience. They have to have planning approval before the state ABC issues these things, or I should say local jurisdiction approval. And this showed up, and I kind of had to go and educate myself about what this thing is. Well, it turns out that it's located at 410 the Alameda, and that is, Hacienda, right across the highway over here. And I did some research, did some homework, and I want to include that from the ABC website of what a Type 47 and a Type 58, ABC permits are, what they're all about. So, anyway, after doing some due diligence when the construction went through the site design review process before, it looked like it was discussed, for ABC and liquor license to be done on site, and no action was taken on the previous item. And so anyway, they're back tonight, or they're back, asking for this approval. So far, I have not been able to reach out based on my efforts so far, let me just say that right now, so far, to the owner of the property. So it's really an FYI for you tonight, and maybe your history or what you know. I want to keep the Planning Commission informed of what's happening out there. And I believe, I'm going to have to go back to it's a zone commercial, and it is for part of these, depending on alcoholic beverages, they do need to go through a conditional use permit process. And I think that was stated based on the minutes. So I think it still stands. Nothing has changed in the zoning code or anything since then, 2015, so I think it still stands. They need to apply for a conditional use and come back and see the Planning Commission.
You also need a public hearing of the public convenience and necessity. Have you dealt with those before?
No, sir, I don't think I have.
After the LA riots, they found out that a lot of stuff was burned out, but a lot of these bodegas have been dealing heavy in drugs, selling booze and then dealing with drugs. So there was a law passed that said, hey, before anybody gets a liquor license, they then have to come by and show us that it's needed or wanted or it's not a detriment to the community.
Yeah.
So it's called a public convenience and necessity.
Public convenience and necessity. Okay.
And so they're looking for how many in an area, how many for dollars. But the key thing is that I thought we want where we're going to put a beer parlor in like 3 or 4 doors out of the school site. That's how you catch these things. But it goes back to the LA riots.
Okay.
Okay, so is alcoholic beverage being sold there right now?
As far as I know, I have not received any word that it is happening, to the best of my knowledge.
You want to confirm? I think they are.
Confirm it, okay.
All right.
And do they have liquor licenses to serve goods?
I
don't if they're asking for one.
I'm sorry?
They're asking for one, they don't have one.
After checking the ABC website, I saw there was a past application that it was withdrawn. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, there was an awful lot of conditions of approval conditions on this thing because you have a project out there. The previous administration allowed a lot of things to go through without coming to the Planning Commission. That thing with the little area where the pizza oven is, and all the stuff in the middle, they took out, I think, a pool. They did a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
They should have told the Planning Commission. Okay, so we tried to clean that up. Now, he does not have a permit for a public assembly, and yet you have major events tying up all, not just people staying there, but in the area.
Yes.
So that's I call that public assembly.
Okay.
So you don't have a permit for that, so that's a violation. Now, you start to take that many people coming in and out, you're probably eating up the street, tearing up the approaches, everything. There was also a condition of dedication and improvement. Something to do with the roundabout also. But with that much traffic coming in, and now you're going to have a service station that's going to be coming in, if you have a lot of traffic, he should be paying his due. So I see a lot of violations existing on the property right now, and that would be beyond me to support an application now with existing violations conditions that have not been complied with. So I would say that until all the conditions of approval have been met, this should not be issued. This should not be considered.
And that's why I did not sign off on anything I wanted to bring back before you, because I saw this went back through, or it was through the process before, and it's time to revisit it. That's what was going through my mind when I was looking through all this stuff. So I figured it'd be like, I'm sure the commission would like to take a look at this material and discuss anything future. So, okay, we'll look into these
The
violations.
history of the property, you had a large piece of property on which they approved a motel, restaurant, all kinds of stuff. And then the owner cut off a chunk that now is going to have a service station. So that reduced the basic area. And basically, anything you put in there is going to intensify because you have new stuff going on less area.
You talking about the new owner, the current owner, or the owner?
I don't know how long it's going to go on. Probably out.
Because Leal didn't own that piece of property that's
in
where the
reference.
service station is.
I don't know who sold it off, but what bottom line is, it came off of that.
Before layout.
Yeah, basically, that
No, it was
the
a
motel.
property that was owned by like a trust.
Yeah, but it was one big square, say, and they took a chunk out of it. Whoever did it reduced.
The size of the property.
So there's 48 units on this thing, and you have, say, X units per acre. Now you have less acreage. That's an intensification. And that means plenty because you get involved every time.
Well, I get that, but I'm pretty sure that the property where this proposed gas station is going in didn't belong to the existing San Juan Inn. I'm almost positive it was tied up in some trust somehow. I don't think there's.
Well, do your research.
But again, I just see a lot of violations that should be, but to me, non-compliance is a violation.
Thank you.
I just feel that they should be dealt with because that whole corner is going to take on a whole new meaning now.
Yes.
With the service station, the food, and the convenience store.
Right.
And so we did an awful lot of work on the design. When I told him it wasn't Santa Harnish enough, he went back with his architects and they came back. That building is finished on 4 sides, not just the 2 facing the freeway. So they put a lot in. So anybody even at that motel looks down, they're not going to see the back end of a service station. They're going to see a nice building all around.
Yes.
So I even had proposed that they would have one driveway, one common driveway that everybody would go in and out rather than having 2 separate driveways.
Okay.
And that didn't go too far, but again,
You proposed it.
again, if when something new comes up, everything is new.
Okay.
So
We start from zero.
that's where I see. So that's my thoughts on this subject.
Thank you.
If I'm understanding the commission's direction, just want to make sure I'm writing my notes down correctly here. Sounds like staff's direction is do the due diligence, do the research, figure out what violations are happening, if any, and that's where, and then of course myself and of course Tim in our code enforcement, we figure out what needs to be done before the liquor license, ABC license even remotely considered, because it's way too early to sign off on this, and I'm not signing off on it until I
Make sure that the county commission is not bypassed and go direct to the council.
Yes.
I think one of them did.
Yeah.
They went right to the council and they should have come here. I mean, to me, the council should have us doing that laundry, and then they get up and they can pick up an appeal or a review or whatever.
Okay. Sounds good.
So you said that there was an application,
And it was,
but they never continued, they never followed through, so they actually applied for a liquor license, but they never.
ABC, it got withdrawn. And
By the owner, or?
it didn't say on the website. I couldn't find any information on the website that said it. But I'll go back and double check, but there's no active application on there that's been previously approved. There's only 2 things, this application right here and then the one that was withdrawn. So that's where we are right now. It has to go before a liquor license is done. We have to pay this to planning commission first, with the applicant.
Well, yeah.
Stated there in the minutes right here, so that means, this is.
here we go. Okay. Okay, we got the.
Public comment, please?
Yes. We have a public comment. Come on up. Please identify yourself, Ms. Ponce.
Rachel Ponce, 4th Street. I think that it merits to really look at this because that applicant was not very respectful of the conditions that were put on that permit, and had quite a few functions there and that were not supposed to be happening there. And because of the lack of code enforcement, got away with a lot. And so I think that you really, really need to look at this very closely. It's a beautiful place, and it's a shame that it's not being used, according to the permits. Thank you.
All right. Okay, I think I have my instructions, my directive.
Nice catch there, Todd.
I've dealt with these many a times back in my previous experience, and now some of them, most of the time, granted, we're talking about another jurisdiction here.
Yeah.
Granted, when I always looked online, it was always quick and easy, because if you look on the ABC license, type in the address and business name, and there's like several that have been approved and renewed over the years, and they're still active, and they're just getting a renewal. So it's just like, oh, okay, boom, done. Previous approval was already done. But sometimes if they go into lax, if they, lax and they expire, then you have to go through a proper permit process to get it done. Here it's, based on the way the code reads and the minutes say, you have to go through the entire conditional use permit process before you can open up and start operating liquor. So yeah, I just looked this over. I'm like, that's when, play detective work, and that's why I brought it before you tonight. So,
made us vicariously liable.
Okay. Do we have a report? Are we finished with this person now?
Yep.
Report to planner on current and upcoming projects. And that's our fun list of things here.
Commissioners, if I can bring something up to your attention, I think it's pretty noteworthy. Talk about a learning curve on my end. As we probably have heard, I'm talking as you go further down the list. Let me see if I can find the page for you so you can zone in or hone in what the word I'm trying to think of.
Can you read those? Do you want this?
Oh, yeah. Can you read those okay?
Chairman Boyd, I'm one of them.
I have one.
Oh, you have one.
I have one. Great, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's right, you're
Did Mr. Franco want one?
I just made it bigger.
Oh,
okay. I have it. Tell you that.
Okay, I'm looking on page 3 of 3, and I want to bring the attention, right address number, wrong street. Okay, first page 1 of 3, items 2 and 3. The Fault Line Restaurant and the 10 Franklin, which is right next door, that was included with the zone change and general plan amendment with the minor alteration that was heard before the Planning Commission back on October 2nd. It turned out that just a day or two prior to the second reading of the zone change, there was an inquiry that we had that the Native American tribes that are indicated on the Native American Heritage Commission were not consulted. I didn't know that information. I did not know that. So I heard about it, and that's when we reviewed it, and the day after is when City Council is scheduled to hear the zone change. So anyway, it is currently on hold right now until further information comes in. I already sent my information to the list of tribes that's indicated on the website on the state. So, and I even talked to a few of the representatives on the phone. A couple of them actually didn't have a problem with it, but they were saying any further excavation, any further dirt work or anything like that, please have an archaeological report and, have that sent to us, reported. So that's where we are right now, and there's a couple different ways that I'm trying to kind of proceed this. And this is an FYI to kind of get back my report. One of them is to divide the zone change where 11 Franklin and 17 Franklin on one side of Franklin is separate, whereas 10 Franklin is by itself. Now that, based on the inquiry that we got, 10 Franklin is actually belongs to Mr. Newbow. No, that's 11 Franklin. Yeah, all one's 11 Franklin. Okay,
South side.
Yeah, there you go. Here's the thing, though. When the representative of the Muslim tribe reviewed the case, there wasn't a whole lot of discussion and a whole lot of debate on 17 and 11 Franklin in particular. He was really focused on 10 Franklin across the street that backs up right against the tax lot.
Right.
And he wants to see, further review done, including CEQA, an archaeological report, and some other things as well. He didn't really seem to really worry too much about the 11 and 17 Franklin. However, though, I want to get that confirmed. That's all based on discussion. So this kind of brings me down to 10 Franklin over here. And as you can see, that's the property of the great big two multifamily, house that's under construction.
Okay, so we were just talking about, we were talking about Drew Neubauer's place, right?
Yes.
That's 10 Franklin.
That's 10 Franklin. Yes, sir.
Is that the one that is the concern of the locals?
Yes.
Indigenous? Yeah.
Yes. That's the one right there.
Okay. So then you say, okay, now we want to talk about 10 Franklin. Is that the same? Are you talking about the same building twice now? You just confused me on that one.
Okay, yeah. Let me just kind of clarify that. The zone change affected 3 addresses, or is affecting 3 addresses. 17 Franklin, 11 Franklin. That's the Lavadino House and the Fault Line Restaurant on one side of the street. 10 Franklin's on the other side. When you're facing the end, getting ready to drop off the Fault, 10 Franklin's over here. 10 Franklin is a large parcel, larger, I should say, that has the large 2-story building that's being constructed right now. And that's the one where the Native Americans are the most concerned about. And the Amahutsa tribe, in particular, based on their inquiries, most concerned about. That property backs up against the tax lot, which belongs to the state park. So far, based on my due diligence, I have come across a few archaeological studies that were done by the state of California. And they, didn't do any digging, but they did some hogging, type things. We used auger machinery to excavate. They came across human remains, but it's mostly to the south, going back to 2nd Street. So, anyway, I think where I'm going with this is, and let me just get right back to 10 Franklin. First off, Scott, did I answer your question?
Yeah, it was said multi-family. I think that's a single family.
The
multi-structure or multi-story single family.
Well, the big house right there, that is actually multifamily. It's not only big and multi-story, it's supposed to have 2 dwelling units inside.
Okay.
Yeah, that's based on what our plan shows and what we've been told by the property owner.
Yeah, so, I thought it was
a duplex.
It's a duplex. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. The thing is that building, and this was presented to the City Council because the Amahutsa tribe requested a public records request on all the information and approvals and whatever information staff has on that property. So we did so. We answered it, gave them the facts as they are. And that's when that propelled them to come to City Council and ask for, that item to be pulled off consent. And they wanted more information, more review done, in the meantime before it goes anywhere. So, the thing is, though, the case covers, 3 different addresses. So the idea is to probably divide them. 10 Franklin, we have to do further review, whereas 1711 Franklin can move forward. That's an idea that we're kind of brainstorming with myself and, city staff. So, I wanted to inform the Planning Commission because we came across part of the public records request. What we have on file is a building permit packet. That's all we can find on approval for that property at 10 Franklin. It was approved, all administrative, it's a permit, but it's been under construction now for roughly about 3.5 years. The signature date that was signed off by city staff was in June of 2015. So it's been under construction basically ever since, and it's not even done yet. And I understand there might be some pending building and fire code requirements that still need to be met. So anyway, but at that time, remember this is 2015, based on the findings and our research that we've discussed so far, that was zone mixed use at that time. Based on reviewing the entitlement process, site design review for new construction is required. And I think multifamily, based on the zoning code here, it requires, it's permitted by site design review. I can't find any record that it ever went to planning commission for review. Not to mention, new construction on something that kind of scale would require some kind of CEQA review, some kind of California Environmental Quality Act. That probably would have, especially backing up against the tax lot, and the significance of what's been already indicated out there, just to discuss if any kind of remains, would have been done. I mean, that's based on my due diligence and what my homework tells me so far at this point. So anyway, there was some back and forth correspondence with emails between the property owner and the city manager at that time, back and forth. And that was actually in 2016 after the permit was already issued. So other than that, though, I can't find anything. So, I can't find any record that it ever did. I have searched many times on the computer, in the repository, everywhere I can find it. It was all done by building permit review, the way I'm starting to show up. And it's still under construction to this time. And that's, I think what I'm asking for, this might be worth maybe as a future commission discussion item and all that. I mean, technically this is because we're talking about all these projects right here on this document.
Yeah.
So, maybe this is our time, or maybe this is a direction that maybe staff, myself, is seeking from the commission, what to do. And, do we, should we have the property owner come before the planning commission and maybe get a latent approval? I mean, I don't know if that's something that's feasible, but I'm trying to throw out some ideas here to help put these concerns to
You're
rest.
talking about 10 Franklin Street.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I want to talk to the city attorney about that.
Mm-hmm.
If we start giving permits, will that justify that it's been done illegally? I mean,
I would like to have her input on this. Thank you. She
Yeah.
should have been here tonight. I'm not sure why she isn't.
It's putting us in a really bad spot,
Mm-hmm.
because now we're learning about something that should have been seen here. Just, I thought we were all done. I thought we cleaned it all up. I thought it was all finished.
It's not done until it's done.
I know. Curiosity on, so I know the state did some research, human remains found. That's, unfortunately, in San Juan you find human remains. I mean, they found some digging up a pipe here in front of the bank a couple years ago. Was not of Native American descent. What did the report say? Did they have the remains? Did they have the bones tested? Do we know if that was indeed?
I think they're in the process of doing all this.
Well, no, this is something they did years ago in the state park.
Oh.
Graded that off, that piece of property.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of the second part is the gentleman you're speaking to, the representative, does this person have some type of any type of documentation or record of settlements or maps or any?
Is it okay if I answer that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
At City Council, that question was asked by one of the council members to the representative. He answered, no, he does not. Council member responded by saying, okay, that's a problem. We need that. So we need that. And I actually left a couple of phone messages for this gentleman. I even followed up with an email to see where he's at, what kind of information he can provide to us. Now, the testing, to get back to your other part of your question about the testing based on those reports that I came across, this is information courtesy of the state of California, so I did thank them on behalf of myself and city staff for providing that to us. We need it. Those bones were tested, and it looks like they are part of Native American remains. But the part of the report did say, and it was really focused on the tax lot, kind of further to the south. And I'll get to it in a minute on the deeded off part in a minute. But they did recommend that further excavation and further review be done. So that's what it came across. So,
Okay.
now, ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Commission, let me just say this. This has all been a learning curve for me. It all kind of started off as just making a correction,
you're in good company.
Yeah. So anyway, I just, this is an FYI for, the Planning Commission. That's the point of this document and what we discovered and where things stand right now. So it's basically just making a correction. Permit, okay, it's already approved. we'll deal with that at a later time. The only scope of work for the zone change is just to reconstruct a 900 square foot garage in its place. That's basically what it was. So, taking those facts at hand is, why the determination was made at the time, for a CEQA exemption. So, but now we find out there's probably more information that should have been reviewed and should have been discussed, at a time a few years ago. So now we're trying to come across more information, but sounds like, ask the city attorney, what's a good recommendation for us to move forward. Anyway, I think maybe that's all I really have to say about that. Actually, let me. That's enough. Yeah.
That's enough. What I think you should get to is, yes, this 10 Franklin Street is having its issues. It should stay where it's at, and probably should stop construction at this point. Until we
That's something we're going to have the city attorney
decide. But you might ask her about that. But then you were talking about rezoning the fault line and the Lavanino home on the other side. That was one option. I also think another option that the fault line has, if they want to go ahead, is to get a variance. If they would like to have their restaurant on that.
A variance is an exception to the ordinance.
Okay.
And you cannot give a variance for use. What you do is you rezone the property to allow the uses that you want to be there.
Okay.
But it would be an illegal act to approve a variance.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that information. We ought to look at rezoning just the one side of the street then.
Well, that'd be the start.
Yeah.
And then we can take care of the other one when everybody's...
finish with whatever they're doing.
And cover up whatever. But we can split it and just do the two, Lavanino and the fault line.
Let me go ahead and bounce that off of the research I've done so far, and to see if my CEQA exemption that I was calling it when I had drafted. Let me see if that still supports those findings.
Well, you could ask the attorney while you're talking to her.
That's like a real touch area.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anything else on here that we should know about? And you said that you told me that you have talked to, there has been a visit by a structural engineer for the Casa Rosa, and he's still writing up his report.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm expecting it. I actually just heard back from just this morning. He is anticipating to have it to me by sometime this week.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Quick question on the Rancho Vista.
Yes.
42 active permits, one application is on hold because of design. Is that when you say application for permit?
Yeah.
And that's the design of the building?
Yeah, design of the house. Here's what's happening. As you probably remember, the site design for the Ola homes was approved by Planning Commission. The thing is that the parcel, I don't have a map to point it out, but to kind of hone in, it is located, if I can just point to the map, far northwestern part of the site that backs up against that corner of the city boundaries. There is a corner parcel in there, and if I'm talking about the right one, keep in mind this is a joint effort between Tim and myself. He handles the building permit reviews while I handle the planning entitlement cases. So anyway, if I'm talking about the right one, it's the corner parcel up in there that backs up against property owners that really are concerned about the views and all. Up where the retaining wall is, the retaining wall on the north side. Well, that corner parcel was originally approved or originally decided upon to put a 2-story house right there. Based on negotiations between the developer and the property owners, they'd like to knock that down to a 1-story house. That's still within the color or design pattern that was agreed upon in
the whole development.
Yeah. That's what's. But I understand from what the developers are telling us is that they need to go through further review. Now I can always follow up and see where they're at on that.
Yeah, they do. You have another question?
Yeah, I saw something on First Street. I think it's the parcel on
First Street that wants to be, they want to do a minor subdivision, right? They want to split that up?
Where is it?
Let's see.
First Street.
Oh, you're talking about 957 First Street,
here it
Louisa?
is. Number 2, yeah.
Number 2, page 3 of 3.
Yeah.
At the top.
Okay, so the city's waiting for
Payment.
okay.
Yeah.
And then I have this little blurb in here. There was concern about construction starting already of some sort.
There is construction activity taking place, it says.
Property owner claims they're just cleaning out existing building and doing some repair work. That's the existing house then, huh?
Yeah, that's the existing place up there. There's been a complaint, there was a complaint received by staff that building and construction was happening up there.
Mhm.
We looked into it, we asked the applicant specifically about what's happening, and that was the statement they gave to us.
Okay. And then the agreement with the roundabout, is that with those folks, the Loesas, and with
Meritage,
Meritage?
for Rancho Vista.
Okay.
Yes, that is, sorry, I lost my train of thought. That is in the works. Myself and the city engineer met with the Loesas because it sounds like because of latest construction with the roundabout right in there might be impacted, so they're asking for more right-of-way on the Loesas side. Well, the Loesas are, they're still deciding on that. So basically, because the roundabout has to be increased or something, they're asking for more right-of-way acquisition on the other side of the street.
Oh, yeah, for the roundabout.
Yeah.
So it's like putting the cart. This is like putting the horse out on the street without even building the cart first. So this wasn't all figured out before the roundabout and everything was approved. I mean, everybody didn't get together, and sounds like their parties all didn't get together and
Yes, and
do
this
this correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it sounds
They've
like.
been talking to Oasis for a very long time. I think
Why?
they just moved really slow.
Well, that doesn't matter. But there should have been some type of written agreement saying, yes, we get it. You have to use a little bit of our property. We'll sell it to you, whatever, before that roundabout goes. That's a huge concern in this community. Plus, like elsewhere, everybody thinks roundabouts are these death traps, which are actually phenomenal. But a lot of concerns were warranted because this thing wasn't going to be big enough.
Mm-hmm.
So now
now it's not big enough because
It's sort of coming to light.
we're still cleaning up.
Yeah.
yes, we're doing a lot of cleanup.
Okay.
Keep in mind, what I can do is, let me just write a directive, or a piece to myself right here, roundabout to look into with the subdivision agreements.
Yeah, let's see if make sure that,
or development agreement. Yeah.
because if the folks, how do you pronounce their name?
Loesas.
Loesas. I mean, if all of a sudden they decide, you know what, and there was nothing in writing, if it was all just kind of verbal agreements, all of a sudden they say, we're not going to let it happen. Now we're down to just, what?
Yeah.
Same intersection we have there now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tool called the condemnation. The city can act to their property.
Yeah, well, the city's already made the mistake, so I would hate for the city to have to,
No, but I mean,
to be that.
That's a tool.
I get that, I know, but that's coming from a staunch conservative, that's very terrible.
It's the greatest tool to be rebuilding cities, redeveloping cities, as long as it's not your lot.
Well,
that's right.
yeah, you're right, and it should have been caught earlier. This is a big deal. All right, well, good luck with that one.
Let me see what we can do. The latest I heard was, after we met, we reported our findings back to the city manager, with based on the results of the meeting when we sat down with the Loesas. Now I understand we're supposed to, we should be meeting. We anticipate to meet with them, hopefully soon, to see where they're at. And I have a few case files on Loesa for parcel subdivision, and we have a CEQA document, but it hasn't been adopted. We haven't received payment, so it hasn't even come before an actual case file to be presented. So it's like we're kind of behind. That's why I don't want to take anything anywhere until we receive payment. It's an actual application we have in hand. At least that's my take on it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's, like I said,
It's a mess.
it's a big deal.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions about anything else?
Madam, go ahead, Scott.
No, go ahead. I had one more, but I think I might answer it myself.
Oh, here, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, the gas station.
Yes.
I saw it was in here, so just to confirm, the gas station has gone before the planning commission approved, the city council approved, I think we're finding some things are, and then the next steps, like as far as it sounds like design review, all that has been
Service
approved.
station was completely ready to go.
Complete.
Lawsuit hit,
Okay,
and he prevailed in court.
okay, so now, next step is he's got to get with Caltrans and make sure everything is nice
Conditions of approval.
on that area. Well, yeah, the kicker is we don't have any say on what happens on Highway 156 other than,
Yeah, because there's supposed to be
that, well,
deceleration and
well, the funny part is that intersection, when we used to run vehicle accident stuff there, the CHP wouldn't take them because it wasn't on a freeway. Or it was considered in the city limits. So they didn't have any reports for that. So it was real difficult for a lot of people when that thing went through to figure out, how bad the intersection was prior to the lights. To tell you the truth, Rachel, I don't even think it got any better. From the lights to the thing. But,
Well, I know that John went out and walked the Caltrans to at least have them lengthen the crossing line because it was like a 15-second and you're right in the middle of the freeway at that time.
oh yeah, so that's the next step. That's going to be a big hurdle, with Caltrans. So, well,
But
okay.
at least now, having prevailed in court, they can start the construction, they can go get the building permits. Because the planning commission is completely...
But can they
Well-
can they start construction if
Yeah.
it would be terrible all of a sudden they start construction, they build this place, and then Caltrans just says, nah, we're not going to work with you on this, and now we've got
I have
a
to-
monument to what?
I have to go back to conditions of approval, but I'm sure there's something that covers Caltrans because you want an acceleration lane coming off of.
I'll tell you what, we would like to review this at the next meeting just to catch us up on the history of what it is. And
I mean, like I said, I saw it was all passed and everything. I'm just
About 3 years in court?
No, I'm not asking for a review of 3 years.
No, but I mean.
I'm asking for a review of the acceleration and deceleration part and where that comes in the conditions.
We could get the resolution of approval.
Just to review it and
Which
just,
would have all the conditions and everything's on
just
that.
looking because
I
there's
think we just need to take a look at it so we know what we're talking about.
questions are already flying all over the place, and there's anger and
Yes, there is.
and also keep in mind, or commissioners, just, be advised on this note. Since I've been here, I think I've actually increased my contact with Caltrans. I actually know someone, I went to school with someone who works down there, and I've been in contact with them several times.
Okay.
And it was asked of them to me as city staff that whatever projects are happening in and around the 156 right-of-way, just send them on over to them as a review. And I've already done that to a few of my projects already. It could be just an FYI where they might not care about it, or they would offer some conditions. In this instance, I don't know how involved Caltrans was early in the process when this was first reviewed, so it wouldn't hurt just to send it on over to them and just see where they're at, because this was discussed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We would like to know.
yeah, I guess they're out of. We're in the San Luis.
San Luis Obispo. That's
Yes, they're in the
office.
San Luis district.
All right, I think it's just prudent, when you have an application, you just send a copy down there and say, hey, this is what we're going to comment on. Why don't we send it to the fire department, the health department, public works department.
So we're going to sell Caltrans.
That's what these guys are good for. Because otherwise, if you had told us, we could have helped you.
Yes.
And then, it's too late then.
Right.
So
You're
for me, it's up front, just send them an application, say, hey, we want comments. Then if you don't get comments, hey, we did send it to you.
So it works out.
That's my approach. I would just intervene or just step in real quick. That's my approach with with Ann. That was just here tonight that you met tonight or saw tonight, and then as well as my project up on Lost Swing. Did I say it? Lost Swing. Yeah. Up there. So,
Oh, not Lawson, but Lawson.
because I want to get these comments done ahead of time because I've been
Sutter Street or Suter Street in San Francisco. Sorry.
Depends.
It's basically those kinds of issues.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, any more questions about the upcoming projects? Okay. How about confirming rescheduling the January regular planning commission meeting to January 8th, like we did with the HRB?
Okay, and the meeting be scheduled to the 8th of January.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. You make the move and you're seconding?
Well, that's a discussion item, so.
Okay, so let's reschedule it today. Future appointments of the HRB PC. Members' applications are being accepted at this time. Okay. Comments. Any more comments from the planning commissioners?
Yeah.
Let's bring that a big old book.
Oh, no.
That's the way out.
Pick up your microphone so we can get this on the...
Okay. This is my last planning commission meeting. I've served 2 full terms and retired after 8 years. It was an honor to have been invited to serve. And because of my education, training, and experience as a planner and planning director, I felt I had some skills that should be shared with my community. I always wanted to live in San Juan Bautista, and I took the opportunity to help make it a better place through good planning decisions. I believe the city is in a better place now. The Commission has approved quality projects that will attract residents and businesses, has received compliance with conditions of approval on various permits, and has worked on streetscape design guidelines that will help maintain the historical atmosphere that drew us here, kept us here, and brings thousands of visitors annually. We now have a new general plan, several new ordinances, a strategic planning committee, a youth commission, a city planner provides adequate information for commissioners to make informed decisions, and a new city manager who appears to be a, quote, less talk and more do, end quote, type of manager, someone the city has needed for a long time. So I've enjoyed working with many commissioners that I've cycled through as a commissioner and as chairman, and hope that some of my planning philosophy has rubbed off and will stay with them for the betterment of the city.
Well, can we call you?
Here's all about it.
Okay.
I know, like I said, this is,
We're sorry to hear you go.
I just wanted to let you know that I did appreciate being on this commission, working with you folks all, and I'm sorry, Ms. Staff. I called her many, many times. Thank you for your help. And I think you're in good hands with Todd. After what I've seen in 8 years, I'm like there was a light at the end of the tunnel and he was there. So that's good. So I wish you folks all well.
Okay.
I will not be at the January meeting.
Yeah.
I had that conflict, but I wish you well.
Okay, thank
I hope
you.
you get a good commissioners to fill our seats.
Yes, me too. Okay, any comments, Mr. Fields?
No, with that, thank you, Ray. I appreciate your help. I like, the most I appreciated out of sitting next to you is the black and white. There is no purple. You know, it was, this is the rules, this is what we follow, this is the reason we put those rules in place, you know, and that's kind of been my, you know, theory in life for years, and I appreciate that. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I really like to congratulate you too. Hope you have a wonderful retirement.
I thought it was retired.
Keep walking.
Keep walking, yes. Okay, if there are no other comments?
Or actually,
Well, we're not to the city planner yet, but I'm commissioner too. And I would just kind of am curious why there's no attorney or city manager here, since they were both invited to be at this meeting. But outside of that, city planner, go ahead.
Madam Chair, if I can just answer your question. I did talk to the city manager. I did talk to the city attorney. They just didn't believe on anything on the agendas that it really warranted their review. there wasn't, because I did talk to the city attorney and went through all the items, and she was just like, there's nothing here legally that I don't think I should, that I would be any of use for.
Well, we'd have questions for the city attorney, so.
We told them, it's a different company.
Yes.
So it's just one of the, that's the response that I received. So I just want to let you know from it.
The city manager and the city attorney are running the planning commission.
Looks like it. Okay. Okay.
Oh, wait. Sorry if I get any more comments.
It's his turn.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, Commissioner Franco, thank you so much for being such a great mentor to me. I'm actually saddened to hear about you leaving. And so anyway, it was always fun discussing things with you and being welcoming since I've been here. I'm still learning. There's still plenty of stuff that I don't know, and I don't know until I'm in it. So anyway, but it's been great though, and it just always was reassuring when I spoke with you that I'm not alone. So because it's just like trying to clean up from the past, and it's been a challenging process. There's no doubt about it. So, but I just want to say thank you for your help, sir, and you're going to be missed. So you're going to be deeply missed.
Okay. Yes, you are. So, would anybody like to move to adjourn?
Move to
I'm
adjourn.
going to adjourn, it's now 8:08, move for adjournment.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The meeting is now adjourned.